Hey guys, today I'm going to go through some of the nuances of the pigeon pose so that you can really get the most out of it, and I'm also going to go through some accessory stretches that will help you with the pigeon pose even more too. So let's get into it. Okay, so first up, start in a press up position. Take one knee in the direction of the same side wrist. So a mistake I see people make here is that they take the knee to the midline or across the midline. But to get the best sort of stretch, what we want to do is take the knee to the same side wrist and then take the foot up and across the midline here. So it's your foot that crosses the midline, not the knee. Here is the important bit. I say that the back leg is like the rudder that finds the stretch. So we're just going to take that back leg back and across, and that taking across really winds up and engages this front hip and glute muscle. And that's where we start the stretch. From here, we're going to go through a few progressive movements that gradually get harder. So first of all, play around with your lordosis, the arch in your lower back. You'll find that some positions work a lot better in that hip. Once you've found that stretch, we're just going to bring a little bit of movement side to side, and this little bit of movement is just stimulating the brain. So it's just waking the brain up to the stretch, sending neurological input up to the brain, saying that the muscle needs to be a bit looser. And as you feel comfortable with that, you can drop down onto the elbows and keep wiggling the hip, and then if that feels okay, you can drop your belly down to your thigh and take the hands further forwards. So here we're taking a fair bit of load in the muscle that we're stretching. This is a really nice way to enhance flexibility. There should be no pain though, so if it's sore, just back off, go back to the last level. If you feel up to it after that last level, there's a really intense version of this, which I call the piriformis press up. So here I'm going to take my back knee off the floor and I'm going to go no hands. So I'm going to go drop this hip down to the floor and try and go lower and lower and lower, but keeping control of my back and keeping control of the hip, so I can stop at any time and then as low as I can and then back up, but using the muscle that I'm stretching. So the way I do that is just imagine pushing my shin down into the floor. So we're going to do this piriformis press up, and you can do repetitions like this, gradually trying to get a little bit lower each time. And this combination of stretch plus work is a really lovely way to make a long-lasting change in the muscle. If all of that feels too tricky, something that can help you help your pigeon pose without doing the pigeon pose is something called the Shin Box. So here I'm going to sit with my shin and thigh at 90 degrees and hands out in front, nice long back, and just rock forwards. So at first I'm going to use my hands to help push me up a little bit, or at least keep my balance. When I'm pushing up, even though my hands are on the floor, I'm imagining pushing my thigh down into the floor. So I'm still using this front hip muscle a little bit when in stretch. So repetitions here, trying to get a little bit lower each time, and same again, if you can go no hands, it brings that extra little bit of load. And if you think about it, the pigeon pose and this stretch of the front hip, they're really trying to help external rotation of the hip. So if even this is too sore, you can sit back against a wall, bring your feet together, soles of the feet facing, tuck, 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 as close as you can, sitting up nice and straight. I do find sitting back against a wall helps with this, but you can just apply a little bit of pressure to your knees and also use the muscles in the outside butt to try and pull the knees to the floor. So I'm pulling the knees to the floor with my hips, and then if you're leaning back, this is a bit easier, but you can push the knees down to the ground. This is something I like to do just watching telly, and spend a good 90 seconds or so doing this with both things happening, the pushing of my hands and the squeezing of my butt muscles, trying to get that lower to the ground. Once I've done this, and then I go back to the pigeon pose, it feels a lot easier and a lot looser. One little troubleshooting thing that I want to show you about the pigeon pose is you're allowed to have asymmetries. So this is a question I get asked a lot. Should you have the 90-degree position of the front knee? And I would say that is a nice goal, and it shows that you've got really good hip flexion plus external rotation. You've got good knee flexibility to be able to get that up to 90 degrees. But I have always had a tighter right hip, so I can work this left side, and I'm close-ish to getting this 90-degree position. I can't do the piriformis press up in it yet, but I can get there in the more passive versions of the stretch. But when I do this on my right side, it just doesn't want to go, and it never has. And it feels different, it feels like there's a different shape in there. Maybe there is a different shape. I'm gonna keep working and keep trying to progress this side, but we're just different, we're asymmetrical beings. So one of the common questions I get is, should you be symmetrical? Is it okay if one side's less than the other? I would say it is, but just try and gradually, incrementally improve your flexibility over time, like you do with all your stretches. So I hope that combination of loaded stretching with the pigeon pose, but then some of the accessory movements to get you there have been helpful. And if you liked that video, check out this playlist up here for other stretch ideas. And until next week, have a healthy one.